Late evening rain hammered the quiet street as Sarah hurried home from her late shift, clutching her soaked jacket and glancing back at her 8-year-old son waiting inside the car. She was exhausted, but when she saw an elderly man struggling with a cane, limping along the sidewalk with no umbrella and clearly unable to see well, she instantly stopped the car. His clothes were soaking wet, sticking to his frail frame, and every few steps he paused like his legs might give out. Without thinking twice, she rolled down the window and called out softly, "Sir, please, get in. Let me take you home. It's dangerous to be out like this." The old man hesitated, but his eyes showed relief. The man slowly approached the car, leaning heavily on his cane as if every step cost him effort. Water streamed from his hair and coat, puddling around his shoes. Sarah stepped out with an umbrella, guiding him by the arm, her gentle touch making him relax slightly. He apologized over and over, saying he didn't want to trouble anyone, but she insisted, "You're not troubling me. I'd want someone to help my father if he were out here." Her son slid to the middle seat to make space. When the man finally sat down, he let out a breath like he hadn't rested in hours. Sarah turned on the heater and drove slowly, sensing something heavy behind his polite smile. As they drove, the man revealed his name was Mr. Howard. His voice trembled, not from fear but exhaustion. He said he had tried to walk home from the pharmacy because the buses had stopped running early due to the storm. Sarah noticed the plastic bag in his lap with prescribed medicines. "You shouldn't be walking alone in this weather," she said. He nodded weakly, explaining that he lived alone and didn't want to bother his neighbors. Sarah felt a tug in her heart. She knew too well what it meant to feel alone and still push through. Her son offered him a small towel from the backseat, and Mr. Howard smiled gratefully. When she reached his small, worn-down house, he insisted she bring the umbrella inside so she wouldn't get drenched again. The entryway smelled faintly of old books and tea. Sarah noticed the place was tidy but clearly cared for by someone whose health was failing. He pointed to a photo frame on the shelf, his late wife. "She used to scold me for forgetting the umbrella," he chuckled. Sarah helped him settle into a chair, bringing him a blanket. He offered her money for the ride, apologizing for taking her time, but she shook her head firmly. "Just promise me you'll call next time you need a ride in bad weather." He seemed touched, his eyes misting as he thanked her. As she prepared to leave, Mr. Howard walked her to the door despite her protest. "People don't stop for strangers anymore," he said. "You've done more than you know." Sarah smiled, unaware that this simple act would change her life. When she returned to her car, she drove home feeling unexpectedly warm inside despite the storm still raging. Her son said quietly, "Mom, you're like a hero." She laughed, ruffling his hair. "We just helped someone who needed it. That's what humans do." She didn't know destiny was already setting something in motion for tomorrow. The next morning, Sarah was rushing again, packing her son's lunch, preparing breakfast, and checking the time anxiously. Her landlord had warned her about the delayed rent, and she feared another confrontation. Money was tight, her job was unstable, and she was doing her best to hold everything together. As she drove her son to school, she couldn't stop thinking about the gentle old man from last night. She hoped he was warm and safe. She assumed that was the end of it, a kind deed and nothing more. But fate had something else waiting. After her shift ended that evening, she found a small white envelope tucked under her windshield wiper. Her heart raced, thinking it might be a parking ticket she couldn't afford. But when she opened it, her breath caught. Inside was a short handwritten note. "Please visit me if you have time, Mr. Howard." Beneath the note was an address she recognized from last night. Attached to the paper was a small pressed flower, delicate and old. Sarah frowned, wondering why he needed to see her so urgently. She hoped he was okay and decided to stop by before picking up her son. As she approached Mr. Howard's home, she noticed the porch light was on despite it being daytime. She knocked gently, and after a moment he opened the door, looking much stronger than the night before. "I was hoping you'd come," he said with a warm smile. "Please, sit. There's something I want to talk to you about." Sarah stepped inside, surprised to find the room neatly arranged with papers on the table. Something felt different, more serious. Mr. Howard motioned her to a seat and poured her a cup of tea, his hands steadier. He began by thanking her again for helping him in the rain. "Most people walked past me like I didn't exist," he admitted. "But you stopped without hesitation. People like you are rare." Sarah blushed and shook her head. "Anyone would have helped." He gave her a knowing look, as though he didn't quite believe that. Then he showed her a stack of letters, unanswered requests for assistance from caregivers, social workers, even neighbors who didn't have time for him. His health had been declining for months, and he was overwhelmed. Sarah's chest tightened with sympathy. "Mr. Howard hesitated for a long moment, then said, I want to offer you something, but please hear me out before saying no." Sarah looked confused but nodded. He explained that he had no children, and his late wife had left him a substantial inheritance that he had no idea what to do with. "I've watched people all my life," he said. "Some chase money, some chase attention. But kindness, that's priceless, and you gave it freely." Sarah's throat tightened. She didn't understand where he was leading. Then he revealed the startling truth. He wanted her to become his part-time caregiver, and in return, he would pay her far more than her current job did. "You deserve stability," he said softly. "And I don't want to spend the rest of my life alone." Sarah was stunned. She had never expected anything like this. She didn't want to accept out of pity or obligation. She told him gently that she was already struggling to balance everything and didn't want to give false promises. "But Mr. Howard reached out and touched her hand lightly. "This isn't charity," he said. "This is trust." He walked her through what he needed. Simple companionship, reminders for his medicine, occasional grocery runs. Nothing overwhelming. Sarah realized the offer wasn't unreasonable. In fact, it was something she could genuinely do, something that could help him and her family both. Still, she asked for time to think. Mr. Howard nodded, giving her a small smile. "I just wanted you to know you changed something in me. I hadn't felt hopeful in a long time." His words lingered in her mind long after she left. When she picked up her son from school, he noticed her distracted expression. "Is something wrong?" he asked. She explained everything, expecting him to shrug or feel uncertain. Instead, he grinned and said, "Mom, he's nice. And he needs you. And maybe we need him too." His innocence and honesty cut straight through her doubts. She squeezed his hand, realizing he had a point. Life had handed them very little support. Maybe it was okay to accept help this time. Still, she wanted to sleep on the decision before giving her answer. That night, Sarah lay awake thinking about her struggles, rent overdue, bills piling up, her son growing without the stability she wanted for him. She imagined what a little extra income could mean. Fewer nights worried about electricity, fewer arguments with the landlord, maybe even saving something for her son's future. But more importantly, she remembered the loneliness in Mr. Howard's eyes when he spoke about his late wife and how everyone ignored him. Kindness had brought them together. Maybe companionship could keep them both going. The next day, she returned to his house with her son. Mr. Howard welcomed them warmly, offering cookies he claimed he baked himself. Sarah raised an eyebrow. His kitchen showed clear signs of a store-bought box, but she laughed and played along. She told him she had thought about the offer and wanted to try it for a week before deciding long-term. His face lit up with relief. "That's more than enough," he said. The decision felt right, not rushed, not forced, just natural. Over the next few days, Sarah settled into the routine easily. She helped him organize his pills, cleaned his reading glasses, prepared simple meals, and kept him company during the evenings when silence filled the house. He shared stories of his younger years, travels with his wife, his career, the lessons he had learned. Sarah found comfort in his wisdom, and he found warmth in her presence. Her son grew attached to him too, reminding him of medicine times and helping with small tasks. One evening, Mr. Howard asked Sarah to take him to the backyard where a small garden stood. It was overgrown and neglected. "My wife loved this place," he said softly. "I haven't had the heart or the strength to tend it." Sarah knelt beside the wilted plants, gently touching the soil. "We can bring it back," she promised. Her son chimed in enthusiastically. For the first time in a long while, Mr. Howard smiled with childlike joy. "Then let's start tomorrow," he said. Her heart warmed. This wasn't a job, it was becoming a bond. Days turned into a week, and the garden slowly revived. Sarah pruned the roses, her son watered the soil, and Mr. Howard supervised from his chair, offering advice only when needed. Laughter returned to his backyard, something he confessed hadn't happened since his wife passed. As the garden transformed, so did the connection between them. Sarah began trusting him with her worries, and he offered guidance with patience. It felt like fate had placed them into each other's lives at the right moment. At the end of the week, Sarah came prepared to give him her decision. But Mr. Howard beat her to it. He handed her another envelope, this time heavier. Inside was not money but legal papers. She looked at him in confusion, and he quickly explained. He had arranged a long-term employment contract with a stable salary, health benefits, and a flexible schedule that allowed her to keep her regular job if she wanted. Her hands trembled. "Why would you do all this for me?" she whispered. He answered simply, "Because you deserve security. And I deserve a friend." Tears welled in her eyes. No one had ever fought for her stability like this. She felt overwhelmed, humbled, grateful. She hugged him gently, careful not to hurt his frail frame. He held her hand and whispered, "I thought the world had forgotten me. But you reminded me people still care." Her son rushed in and hugged them both, declaring loudly that they were now a team. Sarah laughed through her tears, feeling a sense of belonging she hadn't felt in years. The following weeks brought even more positive changes. With her new income, Sarah caught up on bills and surprised her son with a small celebration dinner. Her landlord, who used to threaten her with eviction, now spoke politely. Sensing her newfound confidence, she no longer dreaded the end of each month. Meanwhile, Mr. Howard grew stronger emotionally and physically. He ate healthier, slept better, and smiled more often. He even joined them on short walks when the weather was warm enough. One rainy afternoon, ironically similar to the night they met, Mr. Howard told Sarah something deeply personal. He had been planning to sell his house and move into a care facility before she came into his life. But now, he said, "I have something to look forward to. Your presence has made this place feel alive again." Sarah blinked away tears. "You made us feel like family," she replied. They shared a moment of understanding, the kind that didn't need grand gestures, just quiet truth. As time passed, their small trio became inseparable. Holidays were no longer lonely. Birthdays were filled with laughter, evenings were spent in the garden or watching old movies. Sarah's son even made Mr. Howard a handmade Father's Day card, calling him Grandpa by heart. The old man cried quietly when he read it. "I never thought I'd get to feel this again," he said. Sarah hugged him, whispering, "You're not alone anymore. Not ever." Months later, Sarah received unexpected news. Her workplace announced layoffs. Panic clenched her chest, but when she told Mr. Howard, he simply smiled and said, "You have a place here, always." He increased her hours slightly so she wouldn't suffer financially. He supported her emotionally through the anxiety, reminding her of her strength. She realized then that kindness had not only changed his life, it had changed hers more than she ever imagined. One evening, he sat Sarah and her son down for an important talk. "I'm not afraid of leaving this world," he said softly. "But before I do, I want to leave behind something meaningful." He handed Sarah a sealed letter and insisted she open it only when the time was right. She didn't understand, but she respected his request. He reassured her he wasn't going anywhere soon, he simply wanted to prepare for the unpredictable. Sarah nodded, though her heart felt heavy. The next morning, she arrived to find Mr. Howard sitting in his armchair with a peaceful smile. He greeted her warmly, joking about wanting tea before she started, mothering him again. It was a normal day, beautiful, calm, full of small joys. Sarah prepared lunch while her son read aloud from a storybook. When she looked at Mr. Howard's face, she saw gratitude, not the kind spoken aloud, but the kind that glowed from the soul. He looked at them like they were his family. That night, as they were leaving, he placed a gentle hand on Sarah's shoulder. "You saved me," he whispered. "Not from the rain, but from loneliness." She hugged him tightly. "And you saved us from struggle," she whispered back. They parted with warm smiles, unaware that their bond had become something extraordinary, an unexpected family formed by kindness and fate. The world outside was still full of storms, but they had created a shelter together. As Sarah walked to her car that night, holding her son's hand, she realized something profound. The simple act of helping a stranger had rewritten her entire life. Mr. Howard wasn't just a man she rescued in the rain. He had become a cornerstone of hope, love, and security in their lives. She looked back at his lit window, feeling grateful for the night she chose compassion over convenience. Sometimes, she thought, destiny knocks softly, in the rain, in a simple plea, in the moment a heart chooses kindness. And that choice changes everything.